The beastmen from the Howling Village have just arrived, as a young man tells them to ask Lamulius if they ever need anything. He had asked them to ask Lamulius if they needed any help because she holds the position of the house manager, and she could obviously tend to their needs. Lamulius greets them as they all reply formally. However, the young man tells them that there is absolutely no reason to be formal, as they should make themselves comfortable in any possible way that they can. The young man affirms that they thought that they would be treated horribly when they arrived. However, their intention was nothing close to that, as they were free to make themselves comfortable. They obey the instructions as they no longer seem to appear as strangers on the island. However, something is noticed with the little beings, as it appears that although they are delighted and comfortable with the environment, they seem to faint often, and something needs to be done about that quickly. Later that day, the young man and everyone are in a serene garden, where there is maximum comfort, and the air that blows in the garden is fresh and soothing. There are different people who do their magic. Some sets of people are seen practicing with water, while some are trying a few other techniques. The young man is rather surprised that it appears that he is probably the only one without magical power. A lady who seems like someone of his age cheers him up after seeing that he feels segregated. Although she had told him that everyone possesses a magic of their own, she is quick to tell him again that he is apparently not the only one without magic. After a while, some sets of children come to tease him as they want to hang around him. He is scared that they might display a sense of magic which can project him as useless. They are to carry out the task with the use of apples. The lady quickly tries to dismiss them after seeing the insecurities they seem to bring to the young man's mind. In the process of doing this, they are interrupted by the report that two beasts seem to be fighting on one side of the island. They had heard a noise that was enough to be mistaken for an earthquake. They never thought it could be two animals fighting. It appeared to be a grappler bear and a bloody viper. The viper must be really huge for the ground to shake that much. The fight is happening in the northern area of the forest, and they can feel the ground of their part of the forest, which is far from the northern part of the forest. The girl that had come to give the report states that the fight must be stopped immediately, as it might affect the well-being of people who reside in the forest. They immediately get ready to get rid of the havoc that seems to have struck the forest. The young man, who is usually referred to as the mayor, gets on the lady who had come to report the incident as they dive into the sky. They did not journey to the battle scene on foot because it would definitely take time to save the forest. They appear at the scene in no time, as they are both shocked to see how big the viper and the bear are. The mayor had spoken earlier about eating animals in the forest area, but they had not taken him seriously. He instructs the girl to dive into the fight scene quickly. She's reluctant at first because she's convinced that they will eventually get hurt. However, it is very important that she obeys her master as she dives into the fight scene immediately. The mayor slashes through these animals without mercy as they appear dead after the whole ordeal. She is shocked that he actually means to cook and eat them. They transport the big animal home as he uses their wine and alcohol to prepare a delicacy that seems weird to everyone at first. He cajoles every one of them to taste the animals as they really appear tasty. He had fried the viper and it tasted like chicken. They eventually try it, only to also love the taste. They had more to eat as the meal was really delicious. Later that day, the mayor visits Flora's building to get supplements to prevent the leftover meal from getting spoiled. He had gone to ask if she had a substance for preventing microorganisms from destroying the food. She tenders a food preservative to him as he inquires to know about the recipe he had told her to try out. She had a bad report as she stated that she had tried her best to make the food, and despite her hard work, all her efforts proved abortive. He had gone straight to the poultry to get eggs as he decided to prepare it right in her presence. They mixed a lot of ingredients alongside the eggs and mayonnaise. She tastes it without baking it or cooking it, as he warns her that it's dangerous to her body's system. She was delighted to see him explain to her that the meal was different and delicious. They are interrupted by the unannounced visit for a few men who are from a different country. They seem wild and their beards are very full. However, their approach seems genuine and very kind. The mayor ushers them in as they relay their reasons for the visit. They had hoped that they could get a large quantity of alcohol from them, as they had heard that their people produce alcohol. The people alongside the younger mayor, however, refuse to give their alcohol to them, as they think it's of very great value. They settled down with them and promised to make them more alcohol from their plants. They almost did not believe, as they wondered with themselves if this was truly possible. The men decided to try out the experiment as the mayor remembers trying it in his science class while he was younger. They eventually produce a substance that is licked into a cup for the people to taste. The mayor exclaims after drinking a little, as he affirms that the alcohol is rather sharp than normal. The men only laugh, affirming that he is a lightweight drinker, as they drink alcohol themselves. People are very happy that they have found someone to give them alcohol, which will keep their business and fame. They make merry as they throw a mini party. Everyone is delighted, and a large number of people become drunk due to the intense intake of sharp alcohol. The mayor is alone in the field as he hears a sound that jolts him to reality. The sound seemed to be very familiar with the one that they heard while the bear and the large viper were in combat. It is, however, different this time, as the combat seems to be happening in the sky. He looks up only to see two large dragons facing each other. The very large one joins them later as they begin to attack each other, hence wreaking great havoc in the forest. He becomes really furious as he vows never to let them off this time. They must pay for their atrocities as far as he is concerned. He begins to attack the dragon as he shoots one of the dragons, who quickly escapes the attack, after seeing how dangerous and deadly the mayor's attack can be. It appears to be more like a threat to their well-being. After the mayor has seen that the dragon had dodged the attack, he becomes more furious as he rekindles the fire of his attack. He is prepared to eliminate them this time with nobody to intervene. Just as he's about to strike them with a type of magic, a young boy who is also a dragon, but he is in human form, quickly interrupts them, as he states that those are his uncle and his family. They all return to their human forms as they try to settle their differences on land and without their dragon form, which makes the intensity of the fight quite decreased. They accuse the father of always drinking every time and also pin it on him that he is having an affair. He denies quickly, stating that he had always gone to bring them gifts to the house, clearing their insecurities. The mayor is happy that they seem to be getting along well, without any force, as the father tells them to apologize to the mayor immediately for causing him a lot of trouble. They apologize as the mayor exits their presence. The father states that he had come to observe the environment as the fight was just camouflage. They had never thought that there could be someone who was more powerful than the dragon. In order for them to feel safe and protected, the mother orders her daughter to stay in the forest and observe the people and also keep them safe. Her father had interrupted her mother while she was dishing out the instructions, but she ignored him as she had already made her mind up. They all return except their daughter. They had told the mayor to assign her to a particular job to keep her very busy as she gets really busy. However, during the course of her stay, they find out that the wolves and even the other animals have been suddenly scared of the dragon ever since she had joined them. This bothers the mayor as he tries to see if there are other sectors that she can function in which would keep her away from the animals. She had been taken to their restaurant to work as she seemed to not fit into any other sector. However, a man named Beazle, who rules a different country, has come to get foodstuff from their store, as he is shocked to find out that a dragon now works for them as their attendant. He stares at the dragon in awe and disbelief. What now? Would he get eaten? Is it even right for a dragon to be an attendant with her horns and scary tail? All these questions run through his head as he keeps affirming everything she seems to have said. He no longer has a decision of his own as he's unsure of what to say or buy. He ends up buying everything she has suggested against his own will, just because he's scared of her and wants to do everything possible to get out of her sight. He eventually meets the mayor, who asks him to count everything he has gotten, but he declines as he is close to wetting his pants. He returned to his town immediately. On getting to his town, he summons his chiefs and tells them about the new developments of the village. They now have a full military force for all they care, and an attack is going to be staged against them soon. The question of their success or failure strikes them immediately. He dismisses them after making up his mind to send a spy to their town, who will give him an appropriate report of everything that is happening in the village. Later that evening, he summons his only daughter as he states that he is sending her off as a spy to a small town. The young girl did not decline as she would go on the mission since it was her father. The very next day, she meets the Lady Dragon on arriving to the town. Her reception was very warm, as she did not know her true intention. Beazle's daughter, however, is not as timid as her father, as she kept asking questions about the environment and people that reside in the environment. Later that day, she sees the other wild beasts and the strong dwarves that are in the town. She accesses them quickly, as it comes to her knowledge. that they will hardly be able to defeat them. They seem really strong and unique. It will only take a very powerful force to wipe them out, or even create a slight threat. She goes to sit somewhere in the forest as she settles down to analyze the data she had gathered earlier. She meets with the mayor, whom she underestimates, seeing that he is an ordinary human. However, her analysis is totally wrong as she inquires about him. The dragon girl states that he had enough strength to even defeat her mother. The girl is shocked as she begins to accord him more respect. They appeared strange to the mayor because she was not like that on their first meeting. He had gathered all the information about her and was aware that she would be staying in their town for a period of time. Hiraku informs the other demons about slime and how they can multiply and are very harmless. A red slime suddenly drank the entire barrel of alcohol that was kept in the village. The demon girls suddenly become very surprised, seeing that the slime drank an entire barrel of alcohol, and suggested that it be punished for the offense committed. As a result of that, they had a trial for the first time in the history of the village and decided that the slime was guilty of the offense it committed. The girls began to come up with severe punishments, like burning the slime. While some had pity for the poor thing, the mayor then suggested that the girls do away with such crazy ideas because he feels bad for the little slime. They begin to challenge the mayor because he's always so soft, and they try to persuade him to punish the slime. One of the girls suddenly informs them that if they punish the slime, it does not mean it knows what it is being punished for, which makes them see her point. They all decide to let it go, and the slime continues to show up at their events and becomes acquitted of them. The next day, the mayor sits under a tree and begins to admire how the season has been and gathers the results of the planting he got towards the end of the season. And he suddenly notices how hungry he is and quickly goes to prepare some food to eat. At the dinner, the mayor has prepared a nice meal for the girls, and they all begin to eat as they enjoy how good the mayor is at cooking. The mayor suddenly talks about how the meal would taste better if they had seafood. The girls become more attentive and ask him what seafood is because they really want him to prepare a very nice meal for them. The mayor then lists out some items he was talking about, and the girls begin to talk about and gather information about them. One of the girls quickly suggests a city which has a port where they can begin to look for those items for the village. She also informs them that the village is also known for trading and buying goods, and that they will certainly get the type of seafood the mayor is talking about. The girls quickly head out as they divide themselves on who will undergo different tasks as they head out. Hiraku suddenly becomes amazed at how motivated the girls are to work anytime it comes to matters of food, as he stares at them as they all fly away, but he's so happy to know that they're all enjoying his cooking. 3 days later, the girls who set out returned and they came with a man named Michael. He is a merchant from the city of Shashato in the demonic kingdom. Michael is the president of the Gorun company, and he greets Hiraku, the mayor of the village. Michael then shows the girls and the mayor the products he brought all the way from his city, which makes them all amazed at what they saw. Michael also apologizes for not coming back with the seaweed he asked for because his men do not return with them. Instead, they throw them back into the ocean, but promise to have them dry before long. Michael also tells Hiraku that he has 3 main goals, which makes Hiraku very surprised because he was not expecting anything else from him. Michael then tells him that the first goal he has is to greet him, which he has done already. The second goal is to persuade Hiraku and the mayor into doing more business with them. And the third is to become the official government purveyor of the village. Michael wished to handle all the trade deals between them and the outside world. Michael then insists they give him the permission on those crops, promising to give them 7 times more value he will get by trading the goods. Hiraku begins to think about it, and Michael shows them a list of companies he is managing, which makes him agree with the business offer brought by Michael. Later that day, Michael insists on talking about the alcohol produced in the village, but they all shout at him, telling him that he cannot have alcohol. Michael suddenly becomes frightened and apologizes as he prepares to take his leave. Hiraku and the girls begin to talk about how skilled a merchant he is and the profit they will make if he begins to handle their goods for them. Hiraku begins to hope that he is certainly not deceiving them, and also hopes that they have smooth negotiations from there on out. Meanwhile, Michael looks back at the village while riding the dragon back home and acknowledges how scary his visit was to the village. He suddenly remembers 3 days earlier when he was visited at his office in Shashato City. Michael asked why it must be him they wanted to see. He tells his coworker to handle it, But his coworker tells him that they came with his name to see him and even brought goods from their farms. Michael became more bothered seeing they brought goods and asked if they were not aware of the rules. He tells his men to refer them somewhere else if they cannot handle it. Suddenly, he changes his mind, saying his merchant instincts are telling him not to ignore them. Michael suddenly decides to go meet them and notices that it is the lady from the Chrome family who he had met at her last birthday party, and begins to imagine how he would have been beheaded if he sent her away without listening to her. He then asks who she came with, and he notices that she is Lastus Moon of the dragons, and he becomes even more terrified. Michael becomes more worried because he is standing before the daughter of one of the most powerful and dangerous dragons. Michael puts his fear aside and asks what they came for. The lady from the Chrome family takes him outside and tells him that they want him to buy their goods, and in exchange they will want him to find some more items for them. Michael goes towards the goods while thinking of the danger he might be getting himself into by entering trade talks with the two ladies. He suddenly opens the goods and notices that they are fruits that have entered the demonic kingdom, and begins to think of the amount of silver he would make if he gets them. Michael suddenly accepts the deal and promises to get their goods so he will not miss the deal. He immediately ordered his men to get him the best catch they had from the port in the morning so he could give it to the ladies. Michael then asks the ladies if he would want to follow them, so as to know where they're going. Lastly, quickly informs him that he will be going to the Forest of Death, where their village is. Michael becomes more scared because of how high the risks of the deal are. He follows them and they introduce him to most of the demons and angels in the demonic kingdom, which makes him more scared. After the trade meeting with the mayor, Michael is very glad that he survived it and how he managed to finish the business with the terrifying group. He's also glad because huge profits are waiting for him, but he's not sure if his body can handle it. Back at the village, Hiraku the mayor prepares another delicacy with the goods gotten from the merchant, which makes the girls very amazed. They begin to eat, and Hiraku begins to think of the more items he would later ask the merchant to get for him. The following day, the mayor is trying to battle a dragon that is coming to disturb the village. He begins to wonder why the three angels of the skies who are supposed to be patrolling the skies are not doing their jobs, or maybe trying to stop it has proved difficult. The dragon suddenly shoots fire down into the village, destroying the trees. The mayor becomes very angry and tries to bring down the dragon by throwing a spear at the dragon the first time, but he misses. He attempts the second time and successfully hits the dragon, bringing it down. The mayor then notices that it's a girl and asks her if she burned down some part of the village. Suddenly, Dry May comes and apologizes to the mayor on her behalf. He also tells the mayor that her name is Hakuren, and she is his older sister. Hakuren blames her younger brother for her actions by saying he gave out Lassie as a bride. Hiraku becomes very surprised on hearing what she said about allowing Lassie to get married to the mayor of the village. Dry May denies it all, saying he might have been drunk while saying it and he does not mean it. Hakuren uses it as an excuse and says it's her reason for coming to know who Lassie will be getting married to. Hiraku tells her that she should have come and visit in a normal way, instead of burning down the village. She proceeds to tell him how everyone is in relation to how strong he is, and said how she decided to come and play with him a little. Dry May suddenly exposes her how she came to vent her anger. She suddenly sparks and begins to tell the mayor about how her little cousin is planning to get married before her. But Hiraku holds her and tells her that he understands everything she said, but she's going to clean up the mess she caused. Hakuren agrees and begins to clean up. Back at dinner, Hakuren eats the food prepared by the mayor and notices how delicious it is. Hiraku begins to wonder how she successfully fit in within days. Lasty suddenly walks up to the mayor and apologizes for the chaos caused by her at the dinner. After dinner, Hakuren insists on playing a game, and they all conclude on playing a game of mahjong. She also tells the mayor to come and join them to play the game, and he agrees and begins to tell them the rules of the game. Hakuren tells him that she will figure the rules of the game out and insists they bet. The mayor becomes very surprised, and Dry May agrees to it, saying it will be way more interesting this way. The mayor tells them that he does not have anything to bet on. Instead, he comes up with a punishment for the loser and insists they play strip mahjong. The mayor then tells them he does not want to force anyone to do what they do not want to do, but they all agree to the terms and conditions of the mayor and agree to play. They begin to play as the tension continues to build up in the room. The mayor begins to regret coming up with the idea of playing strip mahjong. The mayor has been losing to the dragons as he observes and notices that the dragons are very good in the game of mahjong. He becomes very worried as he is down to only his underwear, and the others still have their clothing intact. He becomes even more worried and begins to wonder what is wrong and how he is losing. He begins to think that he is being cheated on, or maybe the dragons are using their powers to change the tiles. Because he does not know what's going on, he decides to use his chance by thinking he could score a double point since his tiles are complete. He begins to have thoughts of ending the entire game with just a single move, but he loses again, and he is asked to take off his pants by the girls. The mayor agrees because he made the rules and took off his pants, causing the girls to scream. Meanwhile, the demon lord Galgardo's subjects are bothered about how that village is increasing in power. But he's not bothered because his daughter is not talking to him, which makes his subject even more furious after seeing the letter of resignation from one of their men. Back at the village, Hakurin begins to teach the kids in the village mathematics, and the mayor is surprised at how eager she is to work and how she can do multitasks too. But he finally makes her the village teacher. Later that day, the Lamia girls come to beg the mayor for protection from their pets, but they did not put any clothes on. They told him how their pets came and scattered where they had stayed and came with precious and rare materials. The mayor accepts them and gives them some of his goods and insists they do errands for them. He also begs them to put on clothes while coming to the village, and he gives them some clothes to put on. The mayor also noticed how improved the crops are and decided to plant more crops. Meanwhile, somewhere outside the village, a group of girls are seeing how big the village is turning out and suspect they might be planning something foul. They conclude by taking down the village and saving Florem. Did you enjoy this recap? If you did, kindly like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can bring you the recap of the next episode. Until next time, do take care and stay safe.